Hi, welcome to video 15 on factorization. Now, before you watch this video, I strongly suggest that you watch videos 12 and 13 that deal with the expansion of brackets. The reason being, you're going to realize that the expansion of brackets and factorization are indeed opposites. In an expansion of brackets, we try to get rid of the brackets. But in factorization, we do the opposite. We try to get back the brackets. So let's get started with our first question. Let's say they ask you to factorize 8x minus 12. Since the name of the topic is factorization, you're going to look for a factor, meaning that you're going to ask yourself, hey, what number can go into 8 and what number can go into 12 without leaving a remainder? That number will be 4. Well, that's the biggest number that can go into both of them and not leave what? A remainder. So, a lot of times in school, when I was growing up, they would say pull out 4. What does pulling out 4 mean? Pulling out really means divide. So when you say pull out 4, that means you're visiting all the items and secretly dividing by the number 4. So, if I decide to pull out 4, I'm going to write the 4 once. Even though I'm pulling out the 4 from here, and I'm pulling out the 4 from here. I'm pulling it out twice. But I'm only going to write the 4 once. So, when we pull out the 4, we place back the brackets. This means that we are secretly visiting everyone here and dividing by 4. So, you can divide by 4 here and divide by 4 here. So, we can simplify this. 8x divided by 4 is 2, and don't forget to put back the x. And 12 divided by 4 is 3. That's the end of this question. We just factorize the expression by pulling out 4. Now, I just want to let you know there are 2 possible answers to this scenario. You notice when we pulled out 4, we pulled out positive 4. The positive sign was understood there. Now the truth is, you can either pull out the positive 4 or you can pull out the negative 4. Most people will, if they have a choice, they will pull out the positive number simply because you're more accustomed to positive numbers and you perceive it as easier. However, let's say that I or the examiner tell you that you cannot pull out a positive number. Instead, pull out a negative number. That's not a problem. I'm going to show you a little shortcut. If you decide to pull out negative 4 instead, you don't have to do back your working. You will get the same exact answer, except the signs inside the brackets will become the opposite. So, a positive will change to a negative, and a negative will change to a positive. It should be noted that both answers here are mathematically correct. Now, you must be saying, well, why am I showing you how to pull out a negative number when most of the time in the exam you will have a choice and you will most likely choose the positive number. And just let you know, some of the questions get really complex. And sometimes you'll be forced to pull out the negative number so the sum may work out. Right? Now, just take my word for it. In the other videos, when the factorization becomes harder, you will see for yourself that sometimes you'll be forced to pull out the negative version. So, let's try another question here. Here we have minus 5mk plus 15m. Ask yourself, what's the same between all of them? First of all of them can be divided by 5 and not leave a remainder. So one of the factors is definitely 5. But look at this. Both of them have a m. He has a m and he has a m. So when I'm pulling out an item, I think I would choose to pull out 5m. What does pulling out 5m really mean? It means that you're visiting everyone here individually and dividing them by 5m. So m and the m will cancel out. 5 into 5 is 1. M and the m will cancel out. 5 into 15 is 3. So my final answer will be minus 1k minus the 1 and the k plus 3. And that's about it because the m's got cancelled out. Now, this is one version of the answer. I did not have to pull out positive 5m. I also have the option of pulling out minus 5m. If I pull out the negative version, I don't have to redo my working. I just have to make the signs inside the brackets the opposite. So I'll get positive 1k, and the positive will change to negative. So this question also has two possible answers. Let's try a harder question. Now, I know what you're saying. This one looks like way more complex than the other two, and you're probably not ready for it. You are ready for it. You just have to ask yourself what's similar between all of them. First of all, one has 8, one has 12, one has 4. I would believe a common factor is 4 because 4 can go into 4, 4 can go into 12, 4 can go into 8 without leaving a remainder. Also, all of them seem to at least have one x in them. He has an x, he has an x, and he also has an x. Now keep in mind, x squared is the same thing as x multiplied by x. So all of them have an x to spare. It will also seem all of them at least have one y to spare because y squared is the same thing as y multiplied by y. And all of them have a k to spare. So I think a good start would be to pull out an 8, no, not an 8, sorry, a 4. All of them have at least one x to spare. They have at least one x, sorry. All of them have at least one y, and they all have a k. So we will pull out the 4, the x, the y, and the k. What does pull out mean again? It means you're visiting all the items here and dividing it by 4, x, y, and k. Let's put the brackets here and get it ready. I'm going to visit him, divide him by 4, x, y, and k. Divide him also by what? 4, x, y, and k. And 4, x, y, and k. So let's start cancelling out some items here. 4 into 4 is 1, 4 into 8 is 2. X will cancel out with one of the x's, the y with the y, k with the k. So it seems I'm left with the minus the 2 on the x. Minus 2 on the x. This guy here. 4 into 12 is 3. X cancel out with the x. Y cancel out with one of the y's. K cancel out with the k. Seems I'm left with the 3 and the y. Plus 4 will cancel out with 4, x cancel out with x. Well, I could have done this in my head because the numerator is exactly the same as the denominator. So when you divide two same items, you will get 1. And this is my final answer. You notice I pulled out 4, x, y, and k from all 3 of them, but I only wrote it once. It's very, very important to keep telling yourself that when you pull out an item from all the items here, you only write it once. So let's try some different examples. Let's try some with fractions. So far, all the questions we've done had whole numbers. There were no fractions involved. So let's do some fractions questions. Don't get too worried. I'll build up to it. First of all, it's very important that I refresh your memory on how to divide fractions because we're factorizing. So when we're pulling out something, we're already dividing. Now today we're going to be, soon we're going to be pulling out fractions, which means I have to show you how to divide by a fraction. Let's do a simple example. Let's say I have 2/3 and I want to divide it by a quarter. Now, this really means 2/3 divided by a quarter. This means now that the divide will change to a multiply and you flip the fraction afterwards. So you get 4 on 1. So, like in one of my past videos, I showed you a shortcut to this. When you're dividing by a fraction, when you bring the fraction on top here, the divide will change to a multiply, the divide will change to a multiply, and you flip the fraction going on top. So, as a little shortcut, when the quarter goes to the top, the divide will change to a multiply, and you flip this, so you get 4 on 1. And of course, you just simplify it from here. 2 by 4 is 8, 3 by 1 is 3. So just remember that when you bring in a fraction from the underneath and you bring it on top, it will change to a multiply and flip. So let's try a question involving fractions in factorization. Suppose we have 2/5 x minus 3 on 10. Alright. First things first. I don't like it when items are smack in the middle. It usually causes some problem. So the x, since it's smack in the middle, I am going to put it to the top. So move the x from the middle and place it on top. Now, when you're factorizing fractions, it's usually a little difficult to figure out what to put on. I myself usually run into a few problems. However, the strategy I've come up with is whatever fractions come first, we pull that out. So if we have the 2/5 comes before the 3/10. So I am going to pull out 2/5. So if I decide to pull out 2/5, I write it outside the brackets, right? But what does pull out 2/5 mean? Pull out 2/5 means I'm visiting everyone here and dividing them by 2/5. And I have to divide this by 2/5. But a few moments ago, I showed you a little shortcut when you're dividing by fractions. When this fraction goes up to the top, it will change to a multiply and flip. It will go to the top, change to a multiply and flip. So when this goes up to the top, you put a multiply, and what do you do with this fraction? You flip it. So you get 5 on 2. Similarly here, when this goes on top, you will get 5 on 2. So let's simplify this as much as we can. 5 will cancel out with the 5, 2 will cancel out with the 2. We're only left with x minus, that's this minus sign. Remember, just went on top. 5 in the 5 is 1. 5 in the 10 is 2. 3 multiplied by 1 is 3. 2 multiplied by 2 is 4. We're finished with this question. Let's try another question. Let's try minus x plus 4. Seems very, very, very simple. But believe me, this simple question, because it's so simple, it causes some problems. The main reason it causes a problem is you don't see a number here. But in my previous videos, I showed you that if there's no number here, you need to put in a 1. The 1 is understood. So there isn't much to pull out here, but usually if the question is telling you to factorize, you're going to have to pull out something. So one of the options is to pull out the 1. If you pull out the 1, that means you're secretly visiting everyone here and dividing them by 1. Which means, well, if you divide anything by 1, it's not going to change the value of the question. So you'll get back the minus 1x plus 4. In a situation like this, I would not pull out the positive 1. Instead, I would pull out negative 1. And what happens when we pull out the negative version? We get the same basic answer, except the signs become the opposite. So we'll get positive 1x minus 4. The positive change to the negative, and the negative change to the positive. Alright, let's try one more question based on factorization. Let's try minus p minus 2p squared. I am going to pull out p, and then I will pull out negative p to show the alternative answer. Keep in mind that p squared is the same thing as p multiplied by p. So he has a p and he has a p, well, at least one p to spare. And there's no number here, so I suggest we put in the 1. So let's pull out p. That means we have to visit him and divide him by p. And we have to visit him and also divide him by p. P and the p will cancel out to leave you with minus 1. P and the p will cancel out here to leave you with minus 2p. This is one version of the answer. Instead of pulling out positive p, we can instead pull out negative p. And we'll just get the opposite of what's in the brackets. We'll get positive 1, positive 2p. That's the final answer. Alright, so I hope you understood everything that went on in this video just now. Like I said, the factorization is going to be about 3 or 4 videos. Alright, so be patient with this topic, and well, once again, don't forget to check the link below. At the link below, you can find worksheets based on factorization with the answers. And of course, don't forget to subscribe and leave comments. Thank you, and have a good day.